Today, we're going to talk about how I run my agency and the process that I use to ensure that all my clients are always satisfied and come back for more. Now, it's taken me over 6 years of freelancing and mistakes to create this method. So today, we're going to cover the 9-step process that I use in my projects so you guys can skip all of the time and money it took me to get here. Now, the first thing that has to happen is going to be lead generation. Now, lead generation happens in 2 ways in my agency. Number 1, which is the best way, is going to be referring clients. Now, this happens organically. When a client is happy, they'll tell their buddies about it, their other business owners about us, and then we get more clients through that way. Now, the second way that we're going to generate leads is going to be through this YouTube channel. Now, creating content for over 3 years of web design is going to generate some sort of leads for web design. Now, before starting YouTube, I didn't have that many leads, so creating something like this has helped me generate that amount of leads. Now, when we generate this lead, clients go directly through an email form. Now, this email form is found on our website, and we found that doing this helps save us a lot of time. Clients can add their details directly to the form, including their pricing, their deadlines, their expectations, how many things that they need, if they need web app design, development, writing, whatever they need. They put it directly on the form, and this helps us vet that the client is worth our time and also that we're a good fit. Now, this has helped us save a lot of time, a lot of back and forth, a lot of unnecessary meetings, just having this very simple form on our site. Now, the second thing that happens after the client comes through the doors and we make sure that, okay, this is within our budget range, this makes sense, we have that very first call with the client and the project managers. Now, when this happens, we have a general understanding of how long a project should take based on our previous experience. Now, if the client says, I have 6 weeks to do this massive project, then we're saying, okay, then it's going to be a lot more money than you have available. So that's something that we need to know with our past experience, if it can match our expertise or not. Now, on this very first call, we're always talking about the client's needs. Now, talking about the client's needs is going to be the most important thing of the entire call. It's the reason why you're there. So make sure that you're always listening to what they have to say. Next up, the second most important thing is going to be talking about deadlines, contracts, and money. Now, a lot of people don't talk about all 3 of those or even any of those, but that's just what I like to do with my call to give myself some peace of mind and also the client. If the client knows directly coming into the next couple meetings that this is what they should expect, that this is the kind of price range that we are thinking about, then they're a lot more chill about it and they're not worried that we're going to shove a $50,000 bid in their face and they say, okay, well, we can't afford that. It's better to get the pricing, the budget in the very first call out of the way, say, this is the range that we're thinking. Are you okay with that? Is this within your range? If they say no, no problem. There's other methods to go about it. But if they say yes, then that's it. There's no more heartbreak and you just get on with it, right? So the next steps after the call ends is that we talk with the team, make sure that this is something we can do within the time and the money that is available. And if that is good, because we already talked about the money and the budget, then we can say, okay, handshake, deal, we can start with it next week or 2 weeks, whatever the process is like. But this is great because we already talked about expectations and we can agree on what we talked about in the first call during another second call or just straight up on email. Now, this is something that we like to do. It's our process. It's not necessarily the best process in the world, I'm guessing. If you guys have any suggestions, then please let me know in the comments. But once we agreed on everything and we have contracts signed and ready to go, we will then accept 50% of the project up front. Now, this is absolutely critical. If we don't receive this money, we do not start the project. Number 4 is going to be the kickoff call. Now, this is going to be where the client and the team finally meets and they can talk about, it's kind of like a discovery session, if you want to call it that. This is where we just find all of the things that need to be done. So this is one of the most important parts of the entire meeting. And we're going to take a look at a real live kickoff call in the next step. But this is going to be where the project manager can really understand the needs of the client and they can talk to the designers and say, okay, this is something that we could do, couldn't do with the time available. Okay, so once the project begins, we then move on to Notion. Now, Notion is what we use as a CRM. This is what we use to manage all of our projects. And I covered this in a previous video. I'll link it down below. But this is a OpSys by the future. This is kind of their dashboard that we use to manage clients. Now, here we have an internal view of everything that's going on. We have a couple of sentences about the project. We have some resources like our Figma files, and then we have some tasks that we have already completed, are in progress, or not started. So here we have the meeting notes from our kickoff call. We have the date where it took place, the objectives, we have some notes. So this is something really, really important that we do and look back on often to see what was talked about. And we also have a recording of this so that we can always really just make sure that what was being said is actually being worked on, right? Now, this is not what we send off to the clients. They don't see all of this. What the client sees is their own little dashboard. So within the client dashboard, we have a very similar view to what we see internally. Only the difference is that we have this kind of public view of what's going on in the project. Now, this is shared directly to the client as a page so they can always check in and see, okay, okay, this is what's going on. This is what's in progress. This is what's not started yet. And as I can see here, we're a little bit late on these next few pages, so we'll have to get started on that. But this is what the client sees, and this is great because they can say, okay, this is what's coming up. This is kind of what I should be expecting. Maybe it's a little bit sooner, a little bit later, so we can play around with that. I'm just gonna undo the mess that I did there. But this is what the client can check in with themselves. They don't need to feel like they're bothering us. It's just a very simple thing to check in on their own. So in terms of apps that we use in the agency is gonna be the very typical ones. Figma for design, always and forever. Webflow for development, if it's a big project. Framer for a smaller project or just a very simple landing page. If it's just maybe even a template, it might not even be worth Webflow. And then Loom for recording. So within Notion, we also have these looms for feedback rounds. Let me click that so you guys can see what that looks like. But here is where I kind of go through the project and I explain, all right, this is what's going on right now. This is what we're doing. So this is a real life project that we've got going on, our typography. And I'm just explaining to them the process, the buttons, everything that we've got going on. And then the next few projects that are going to be happening. So as the project develops, we create more and more looms for them. Here we only have 2 because this is a pretty short 2-month project. As we can see here, we only have a couple weeks left, so we better get our skates on and start working a little bit faster there. But that way they can see everything. They can see the looms, they can see anything that's ever been posted. And in terms of communication, we'll either use Slack, Discord, email, or in this case, we're using Teams because that's just what they use directly. So we'll go into their company's contact form, if that makes sense. But step 7 is going to be when the client or the project is over, we then move on to the retaining services mission. When the project is over, it's not over. It's not over till it's over, right? But we always try to get clients on a retainer services that's either for maintenance or either ongoing development or then web design and development. So this is something that we started doing recently and it's completely changed the way that we work because now we're not always relying on brand new clients. We can use this huge library of past clients that we've worked with to generate more income for ourselves. And this is something I recommend every single person watching this to do. If you have a list of clients that you've worked with in the past, either on Notion, on Notes, even in your email, if you haven't sorted that out yet, send them a message and saying, I am now doing maintenance services. If you guys need help ongoing, this is my price, this is what I do, my services, blah, blah, blah. Let's get on a call. If you do that, someone's going to say yes, and it's going to completely change the way that you work. So I recommend that you guys get into that. Now that we talked about how project management is set up, let's talk about the juicy bits, which is going to be money. How much money are we making per project? What's the average price? What's the average income for this stuff? Now, our minimum run is going to be $10,000 per project. Now, there's going to be agencies that say that is absolutely laughable. It's not even worth opening the door for that amount of money. And then there's going to be freelancers and other agencies that say, that's my dream project. Where do I sign? Well, one thing to keep in mind is that there are agencies in every single metric of the world, right? There's going to be agencies doing $10 million web projects, web apps and stuff. And there's going to be agencies doing $100 websites. So whatever, right? There's room to grow. There's room to do whatever. I'm happy where we are right now just because this is a brand new agency. We only very recently got accepted into the Webflow Experts program. So thumbs up there. We haven't even launched it yet. So that's kind of where we're starting off at, is the 10K minimum. Now I'm very, very happy with that. And I know that there's multiple agencies that have a 100K minimum project. Now I'm going to add some screenshots here of another agency that I really, really love that has, I think, a similar max, is around 200K. So that's something very interesting to think about, but there's always room to learn and grow. And that's going to be step number 9. Step number 9 is going to be, don't ever, for the love of God, just stay stagnant and say, this is good enough. I'm just going to sit right here with my $500 project, because I was like that. And then I snapped out of it and I said, okay, I need to keep learning, keep growing. What we're doing now as an agency is that every 2 weeks we're meeting with other agency owners, and in 2 weeks, we're meeting with an agency owner that is making $200,000 per month with only retainer services. That's kind of their main bulk of projects. So that's just something super, super valuable. The information and knowledge that this person has that can help us grow and maintain our agency is invaluable. So if you can offer something to them and they can offer something to you, I recommend that you set up this meeting. Just a very quick coffee, just something simple. Go ahead and try to set that up. So we're almost launching this agency. If you have any questions down below about anything about it, let me know and I'll try to get to your comment. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.